Ma maman pleure aussi. Elle dit, qu'est-ce qui ne va pas, mon bébé? Tu as peur? Tu es malade? Oh, tu peux avoir un autre mari. Tu peux avoir une autre femme. Est-ce que tu peux avoir une autre maman? Oh non, impossible.
By NCCU Limited. There's life after the mortgage. Let NCCU help you improve your quality of life with it.
Q, top of the hour news. As it happens, when it happens, wherever it happens. Local, regional, and global. Only on Q95, the big station. Q95DA.com. Right on, Q.
Good afternoon. This is the midday news for today. Thursday, May 9th, 2024.
News. As it happens, when it happens, wherever it
I am Richie Farrell. In the headline,
and global.
United Workers' Party deputy leader, attorney at law, and featured speaker at the DCHS graduation ceremony, Ronald Charles congratulates the students on completing their high school studies. In sports news, national champion and Elias Jupi Knockout Cup champion departed for the first edition. The Le Express des Îles Creole Basketball Championship 2024 qualifying round
regional
in Guadeloupe.
Only on Q95, the big station. Q95D.
And St. Lucia Fire Service personnel rushed 8 people to the hospital on Wednesday after a bus ran off the road at Vid Bouteille Castries. But the victims sustained non-life-threatening injuries. And UK's Ben Hutchin claims that Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is ultimately responsible for Tory chaos and admitted that things don't look great for the Conservative Party at the moment. The news brought to you with the very kind compliments of Courts Dominica Limited. We'll be right back with more detail after this.
We know mom is not just mom. She's not the wake up at the crack of dawn, make breakfast type of mom. She's much more. We have great gifts to help you show your appreciation, starting at $29 and unbeatable savings across the store. 25% off. Small appliances. 30% off rugs and accessories. Get a new mattress and save 20% off the base. Plus, you can shop for her today and pay later. So, let's celebrate mom because she's much more. Quartz, bringing value home.
And welcome back. Deputy Leader of the United Workers' Party, attorney at law, and featured speaker at the DCHS graduation ceremony, Ronald Charles encourages students to embrace the feeling of achievement in completing their high school studies. Charles advised the students to include a strong level of morality in their decisions and show appreciation to the Lord Jesus Christ for their achievements during their lives. The graduation ceremony was held on May 3rd, 2024.
You should feel empowered by this success. You should be motivated by the achievements. But even as you celebrate, it's an opportunity to reflect on how you get here. Reflect on the critical support from your parents. Think of the learning environment at community high school that impacted useful knowledge. The teachers who held your hands, assisted you with subject choices, guided you through your program, corrected you when you were wrong, and gave you advice when it mattered. Excellence is the pursuit of quality in one's work and effort, whether the culture recognizes it or not. But at the end of the day, success and excellence are matters of choice. Today's theme should remind you that you can succeed at whatever career you dream of having. In the old days, success meant that you had to be a doctor, a lawyer, a teacher, an engineer, or some other achievement that was a societal tradition. The world has changed. Digital technology has made a big difference, and international borders are less rigid. Everyone can access information on the internet. You can be successful at whatever you choose to do, and you can secure fame and happiness through any career choice. Only one caveat: you cannot do it without the Lord Jesus Christ.
Deputy Leader of the United Workers' Party, attorney at law and keynote speaker at the DCHS graduation ceremony, Mr. Ronald Charles. Minister for Community Development Greta Roberts has underscored the significance of councillors being effective and well informed in governance and leadership, particularly in comprehending the laws and responsibilities outlined in legislation such as the LETA Act. She highlighted that the ministry's initiative to translate vision into action will prioritize improving efficiency within councils through educational programs and training.
This year, as we focus more deeply on moving from vision and plans, we are building on our gains, and we will place emphasis on enhancing efficiency within our councils through education and training. Councillors must be efficient and knowledgeable in matters of governance and leadership, community service, and understanding the council's laws and responsibilities under the LETA Act and other pieces of legislation. I am informed that recently councils met with the Solid Waste Management Corporation and Environmental Health Department to deepen collaboration on addressing the issue of derelicts, white goods, and single-use plastics. This type of effort must be sustained, and our councils have an important role to play. Councils must see themselves as government at the local level and be prepared to actively engage residents and, where necessary, to enforce the laws for the good governance and improvement of your municipalities, Kalinago territory, and village districts.
That was Greta Robert, the Minister for Community Development. President of the Dominica Public Service Union, DPSU, Steve Joseph, has expressed concern over the practical application of constitutional rights in the country. He suggests if individuals do not experience these rights in reality, they are merely symbolic. Joseph points to the decline in the enforcement of such rights in Dominica as evidence of their erosion. Furthermore, Steve Joseph highlights the welfare of public sector workers as a priority for the newly elected executive of the DPSU that is chosen during their biennial delegates conference this morning.
Public officers need to understand that where these things affect you personally, you have to be interested in your own welfare. So certainly that will be an agenda item for our new executive. But I think some very strong words is then encapsulated in our theme, that of rights, that of voice, and militancy. And I think you can do a thesis on any one of those because they are very important words that can be explained and described and built upon. But I'm happy that we're linking the three, because I think the three, they are well correlated. And of course, having rights is good. It's important. The Constitution gives us certain rights, some certain freedoms, the right to freedom of association and the right to health and the right to free speech and a number of rights. But if one does not enjoy those rights, if one does not enjoy the rights practically in real terms, it means those rights are just on paper. They're just in the law. They're just in the Constitution. And we've seen some of those rights being deteriorated. It's not that they're not written there in the law.
Joseph asserts his belief in the strength of Dominica's labor code, noting robust provisions within the Public Service Act and regulations. However, he highlights gaps that he claims can be exploited for manipulation.
I think Dominica has a very good labor code. We have some very strong articles in the Public Service Act and the Public Service Commission regulation. But what we have are gaps that allow for manipulation. Take, for example, what you just raised about representation on the Public Service Commission. And that's another fight for the union. The dignity and sanctity of the Public Service Commission is a matter that we have to address. Because I think even that institution is under threat. But the gap there is process. In the process, it doesn't say how long that a recommendation made to the Prime Minister should be dealt with. And as such, when you do not have those boundaries, those limitations, someone with certain motives can decide that they delay. So your recommendations go forward, and that of the union takes months, not days or weeks, months before a recommendation goes to the president for appointment.
Dominica Public Service Union President Steve Joseph. This is Q95 News. A new 24-hour surveillance system is set to be erected to monitor the activity of Dominica's boiling lake. The system will be installed by Picard Innovations Limited. The boiling lake has returned to average levels following its significant drop in March of 2024. Speaking at the awareness forum organized by the Office of Disaster Preparedness, the International Organization for Migration, and the UE Seismic Research Unit, the director of the UE Seismic Research Center, Dr. Erosilla Joseph, says the new system will significantly improve communication, monitoring, and response of members of the Seismic Research Unit and Dominican authorities.
We put in the measure of the monitoring camera so that we can help track it more regularly. And I know that there are guys who go on a fairly regular basis. So one of the things that we would like to have is a kind of communication that would help us, some sort of sharing, whether it is a WhatsApp group or something, set up with some of the tour guides who might be interested so that we can share information on the lake. And, people visit, they may take a photo, I would like to share, and then we can be able to share quickly, given that we now have access to this monitoring camera. If there are signs of unusual activity, that it can be communicated in a more rapid way. But the main gas that is normally emitted at the boiling lake is water vapor. You do have H2S, and that's when you get the rotten smell. But in general, staying for short periods at the lake not a problem because it is such an open and well ventilated area. That's not a problem. The low levels of gas. The problem is when it starts to show unusual activity.
Director of the UE Seismic Research Center, Dr. Erosilla Joseph. Eastern Caribbean Automated Clearinghouse Services Incorporated, ECACHSI, has announced the appointment of Mr. Gordon Julian to its board of directors. Gordon Julian, currently serving as the general manager of the corporate services at Republic Bank EC Limited, brings extensive experience to his new role. Previously, he held the position of country head of St. Lucia since November 2019. With a distinguished career predominantly with Scotiabank, Julian boasts comprehensive branch and country management expertise. He commenced his journey with Scotiabank in 2004 as Senior Manager Compliance, overseeing the compliance program across 9 Scotiabank countries. He later completed a 3-year management trainee program in Barbados and assumed roles as country manager in Antigua for over 5 years and in St. Kitts and Nevis for 2 years before joining Republic Bank in St. Lucia. Julian's background includes over 7 years as a bank examiner at the Eastern Caribbean Central Bank, further enhancing his regulatory and compliance acumen. He holds a bachelor's degree in economics and accounting from the University of the West Indies Cave Hill campus and a master's degree in financial management from the University of London. Addressing the Youth Development Division's multidisciplinary leadership course graduation ceremony on Wednesday, Chief Youth Development Officer John Roach called upon the government to support the personal development and leadership empowerment programs offered by the division. He emphasized the significance of these initiatives in Dominica's endeavors to create a more resilient nation. Roach highlighted the effectiveness of the division's courses in enhancing leadership skills within communities, particularly during challenging times.
In our efforts to build a more resilient Dominica, I urge the government to pay more attention to these personal development and leadership empowerment programs of the Youth Development Division, which have proven to build leadership capacity in the communities, especially during times of crisis. For resilience is not only defined by one's physical environment, but more importantly, by one's personal disposition and leadership capacity. I'm also imploring our young aspiring leaders to avoid the I run things leadership and adopt the we need each other leadership. The we need each other leadership is more conducive to building resilience. On behalf of the Ministry of Culture, Youth Sports and Community Development, I extend our gratitude to the tutors and facilitators who collaborated with the staff of the Youth Development Division to impart such knowledge and skills in leadership development to the young men and young women of the Southeast and the Western districts. You have made your contribution to building resilience in Dominica.
Chief Youth Development Officer John Roach. The United Nations Development Programme, UNDP, unveiled its latest Human Development Report, HDR, for 2023-2024, titled Breaking the Gridlock, Reimagining Cooperation in a Polarized World. The report warns of a concerning trend. While the Global Human Development Index, HDI, is on track to reach new heights in 2023, following significant declines in 2020 and 2021, progress remains uneven and unequal, leaving the poorest nations behind. The HDR reveals that while affluent countries are experiencing unprecedented levels of human development, half of the world's poorest nations are still struggling to surpass their pre-crisis levels. This disparity exacerbates global inequalities, compounded by substantial economic concentration. Shockingly, nearly 40% of global trade in goods is monopolized by just 3 countries, and in 2021, the market capitalization of the 3 largest tech companies exceeded the gross domestic product of over 90% of countries. Head of the United Nations Development Programme emphasized the urgent need for collective action to address this gridlock, which not only impedes human development, but also fuels political polarization and erodes trust in institutions. This is Q95 News. Now in sports news, the 2023 Dominica Amateur Basketball Association National Champion and 2024 Elias Dupe Knockout Cup Champion, the Dr. Darrow PSC Falcons, departed Dominica on May 8, 2024 for the first edition of the L'Express des Îles Creole Basketball Championship 2024 qualifying round in Guadeloupe. The qualifying round is scheduled for May 8th to the 11th, 2024. This qualifying round will bring together senior men's teams from Dominica and Guadeloupe. The Dr. Darrow PSC Falcons will be coached by Levi Barron. Here are the names of the players who will participate in this qualifying round: Kejan Thomas, Cleve Bellot, Peter Ricketts, Ronnie Magloire, Kiefer Francis, Yannick Regis, Edmund Williams, Mashak Duboulet, Zach Bastian, Yawani Regis, Shama Felicit, Jacob Barry, Kerbin Nanthan, Jamal Peltier, Andel Olivachi, and Drichwan Lee. The territories of the Maritime Company, L'Express des Îles, the main partner of the competition, will participate in the grand final in Dominica from August 20th to the 24th, 2024. DABA extends special commendations to the Office of the Prime Minister, Honorable Roosevelt Skerritt, L'Express des Îles, and the Whitchurch. Additionally, a special thank you to the teams, the fans of basketball, well-wishers, and other stakeholders for their invaluable contribution and amazing support. On a Wednesday, St. Lucia Fire Service personnel rushed 8 people to the hospital after a bus ran off the road at Vid Butey Castries at about 4:28 p.m. Emergency responders learned of the incident near Peter and Company Auto. When they arrived, they discovered that the victims appeared to have sustained non-life-threatening injuries. The driver of the bus, which was heading towards Castries with employees of a local business establishment, declined emergency transportation to a medical facility. And now Ben Hutchin has admitted things do not look great for the Conservative Party at the moment in the United Kingdom. The newly re-elected Tees Valley mayor was asked if Rishi Sunak, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, was to blame, and he replied that ultimately it lies with Rishi, but added others were also to blame. In a BBC Tees interview, Lord Hutchin warned colleagues to, open quote, stop messing about, end quote, by fighting each other. Ben Hutchin said Rishi Sunak is to blame for the current Tory chaos.
Will Labour win the next election, do you believe?
I'm not a betting man, Amy, but things don't look great for the Conservative Party at the moment. But I don't disagree with Paul. There is still a way through, but that way through is getting narrower by the day. And so I think there's a bit of disaffection generally with politics. They see the government is not very good at the minute. They're not really delivering, but they don't necessarily see the Labour Party as a fantastic alternative. And so I think what Paul's trying to get at there is if the government actually got on and delivered some real things and showed themselves to be competent and did the things that people wanted them to, then there is a way through to be able to get some of that respect back, some of that some of that confidence back from the public and to help reduce what is a very large gap at the minute. But like I said, every day that window is getting smaller and ultimately the government need to get on and start delivering.
Is Rishi to blame for that, or can Mr Sunak reverse that poll?
I mean, ultimately, it always rests on the shoulders of the leader, right? All responsibility goes back to the top. It's the same in my job as well. Ultimately, you're the one responsible for it. But there are lots of people who are involved in the problems with the Conservative Party. I mean, it's a bit of chaos at the minute, right? Isn't it? There's lots of people fighting with each other in the Conservative Party. There are defections going on. And ultimately, the public do not vote for parties who are not united and are not presenting a united front and also aren't talking to the public. If they're fighting with each other like rats in a sack, instead of saying to the public, this is what we're going to do for you, that doesn't win elections. So obviously it ultimately lies with Rishi, but there are lots of people who need to get their act together, stop messing about and start talking to the public about what they can offer them rather than just fighting with each other.
And that's the midday news. Here's a recap of our headlines. UWP Deputy Leader, Attorney at Law, and featured speaker at the DCHS graduation ceremony, Ronald Charles, congratulates the students on completing their high school studies.
Global only.
In sports news, national champion and Elias Jupi Knockout Cup champions departed for the first edition of the Le Express des Îles Creole Basketball Championship 2024 qualifying round in Guadeloupe. St. Lucia Fire Service personnel rushed 8 people to the hospital on Wednesday after a bus ran off the road at Vid Butey Castries, but the victims sustained non-life-threatening injuries.
Wherever.
And UK's Ben Hutchin claims that Prime Minister Rishi Sunak is ultimately responsible for the Tory chaos and admitted that things do not look great for the Conservative Party at the moment. The news brought to you with the very kind compliments of Courts Dominica Limited. The weather report comes up next.
Mom is not just mom. She's not the wake up at the crack of dawn, make breakfast type of mom. She's much more. We have great gifts to help you show your appreciation, starting at $29 and unbeatable savings across the store. 25% off. Small appliances, 30% off. Rugs and accessories. Get a new mattress and save 20% off the base. Plus, you can shop for her today and pay later. So, let's celebrate mom because she's much more. Courts, bringing value home.
And now it's time for the weather report. For today, valid from 12 p.m. The winds are moving east to southeasterly, at 10 to 25 kilometers per hour with higher gusts. Sea conditions are slight to moderate in open water. The waves are peaking 1 to 2 meters or 3 to 7 feet. There is a warning advisory in effect. High surf advisory is in effect. The sunrise was at 5:38 a.m. The sunset will be at 6:26 p.m. Low tide at 10:44 a.m. and 9:53 p.m. High tide at 3:30 a.m. and 5:16 p.m. The forecast for this afternoon is partly cloudy to cloudy and slightly hazy with light to moderate scattered showers and a slight chance of isolated thunderstorms. Forecast for tonight, partly cloudy to cloudy and slightly hazy with brief scattered showers. The synopsis: weak unstable conditions will be affecting Dominica. On that note, here's the weather outlook for Dominica and the Lesser Antilles, again valid from 12 p.m. today, May 9th, 2024. Weak unstable conditions associated with a lingering shear line are expected to affect the area during the next 24 hours. This is expected to result in cloudiness and some scattered showers and a chance of isolated thunderstorms. A relative reduction in moisture levels can be expected by tonight. A layer of Saharan dust is expected to linger across the region, resulting in low visibility and poor air quality. People with respiratory issues should take all the necessary precautions to avoid any complications. Small craft operators venturing out to sea should take along the necessary equipment for safe navigation. A gradual reduction in dust concentration can be expected as the day progresses. Slight to moderate seas can be expected in open water, with northerly swells peaking near 7 feet. Small craft operators, sea bathers, and people living near the northern and western coasts advised to be on the alert and, of course, to exercise some caution. That's the weather report for today, this afternoon rather. Stay tuned for your community notices and announcements.
Not be afraid of what the future brings. This is only the start of the trans revolution.
Thank you for staying with us. The National Cultural Council and the Cultural Division invite nominations for the 2024 Golden Drum Awards. Persons, groups, or institutions being nominated should have made a positive and impactful contribution to the development of Dominica's culture for at least 20 years. Nominations are also invited for Special Recognition Awards. Special Recognition Awards are issued to such persons, groups, and institutions that have made a contribution in culture for less than 20 years, and to those who have achieved notable successes in a particular field of arts and culture. Nomination forms are available at the Old Mill Cultural Center. Only completed nomination forms with all supporting documents received by June 7th, 2024 will be considered. Please submit to the Cultural Division Office located at the Old Mill Cultural Center in Canefield, or email culturaldivisionoldmill@gmail.com. And now stay tuned, we have 3 deaf announcements. We announce the death of Philip Nassif, a prominent figure in Dominica's economic and social landscape, who passed away on Sunday, April 28, 2024. He will be remembered by his children, Ivor, Marussia, and Gregor. His grandchildren, Isabel, Alexander, Victoria, Philip, Natasha, Gaston, Sophia, and Manuela. His siblings, Annie, Yusuf, Rosa, and Juliet. The spouses of his children, Nancy, Rudy, and Sandra, and former wife and mother of his children, Gilda Thibault Mansour. The funeral service of the late Philip Nassif will be held at Our Lady of Fairhaven Cathedral Chapel in Roseau on Saturday, May 18th, 2024 at 10 a.m. In honor of his memory, mourners are asked to dress in or with his favorite colors, shades of blue and white. That's and or white. In accordance with his wishes, his ashes will be submerged off the coast of Maho and Belfast. Those wishing to contribute to his favorite charity can do so to the Elias Nassif Foundation, National Bank of Dominica. The account number is 1000397. The SWIFT code is NCDMDMDM. Funeral arrangements is entrusted to Gentle Rest Funeral Service, Inc. Q95 News extends sincere condolences to the family of the late Philip Nassif. We announce the death of Isaiah Dodds, also known as Beckett, age 80, of Wesley, who resided in Benz. He passed away on Monday, May 6, 2024, at the Agape Nursing Home. He is survived by his children, Charlie, Clayton, Ronnie, Nelson, Ronald, Vaughn, and Cleveland Dodds. Daughters-in-law, Sylvie and Anthea Dodds. Grandchildren, Athena, Navonde, Ayonde, Livernia, Chelson, Naika, Ruvin, Rosilia and Kimel Dodds, Kermael, Kerante, Kante, and KK, Chanel, Chanel, Terry, Nella, Nisha, Niels, Nancy, and Jordan. Adopted grandchildren, Nikisha and Naya. He is survived by two great-grandchildren, his brothers Julian, Dorival, and Joseph Dodds, his brothers-in-law Amos, Joseph, and Emmanuel Wright, sisters Edorine Joseph, Frida Dodds, and Lise Lynn Wright, sisters-in-law Natalia and Cynthia Dodds, nieces and nephews including Spice, Sean, James, Pembo, and Gordon of Wesley. Other relatives including Chad, Flora, Marlena, Merlis, Curlis, Tom, Jerry, and Kelton Basil, Hawkins, Francine and Dave Dodds, Mina and Griffin St. Hilaire, Fidel and Charles Grant, Kathy, Carol, Carol and Cyrus Dodds, Mervyn and Kima Dodds, Beverly Mills, Gloria Shillingford, Alston Mason, Ronis and Evan Dodds. That's Ronis and Evans Dodds. Dion and Keskim Shillingford, Kel and Edith Alexander, Patrick, Gilda, Mildred and Aisha Dodds, Bolton, Sherry Lynn and Carpet Timothy, Bernie Telemac, Rosemary Winston, Francis Joseph, Hayden and Agatha Joseph, Nurse Baby Ann, Cole, Tilda and Benny Ducray, Rosalind Canaville, Ronna Wallace and the Leslie family of Doda, close friends, Eisenhower, Irma and Jacqueline Douglas, Sherma, Levon Vidal, Curtis St. John, Shan and family, Dorette, Vernette Bowers, that's Vernette, Bowers and Suki, Victoria, Titus, Marilyn, Kushi, Marianne, Bauscher, Lucille, Delano, Michael, Carl Samuel, Merlis, Shaman, Tatu, Nurse Adora, Mavis and Ezra Fabian, Erdmin Fabian, Vida Boland, Hetty, Revelus St. Rose, Hubert James, Richie Benjamin, Marie Dommage, Magdalene Francois, and Honorable Akia Joseph, Jerita Jeremy, Joan Birmingham, Veronica Lewis and Julian Francois, other relatives and friends both here and abroad, including Pastor Ernest Pendek and the Benz SDA community, Nurse Esprit and Agape Nursing Home family, the Dodds, Leslie and Alexander families, and friends at the Calabishi Police Station. The body of the late Isaiah Dodds, also known as Beckett, can be viewed from 2 p.m. on Wednesday, May 15th, 2024, at the Wesley Seventh-day Adventist Church. Funeral service begins at 3 p.m. Q95 News extends sincere condolences to the family of the late Isaiah Dodds, also known as Beckett. Persons from Roseau and environs who wish to attend the funeral service of the late Gibbons Benjamin in Anse-Demey must meet at the Goodwill bus stop on Friday, May 10th, 2024 at 11 a.m., where transportation will be provided by bus numbers HF147. Again, that's bus registration number HF147, driven by J. Bus registration number HE738, driven by Slick. And bus registration number HE177, driven by Kirby. Buses will leave at 11:30 a.m. sharp. Q95 News extends sincere condolences to the family of the late Gibbons Benjamin. That concludes the community notices and announcements for this afternoon. I've been your presenter, Richie Farrell, with the Q95 News team, wishing you a pleasant afternoon.
winning numbers for Dominica National Lottery, a morning draw of Thursday the 9th of May, 2024. 33 morning draw winning numbers are 2, 8, and 6, and the multi-X ball is FP.